very excited to have this conversation with my friends and colleagues here on stage. I'm Stephen Adams, the moderator of this panel. I'm the founder of Alta Global Media, which is a boutique management and production firm based in Los Angeles. And we're going to talk about a very specific case study of an international co-production that spans the United States, Europe, and Africa, called Stolen. And I'll start with you, Shantelle Rochester. How did this project come about?
Okay, so it started with the KwaZulu-Natal Film Commission wanting to support their South African producers by doing co-productions. So they reached out to the UK company and they reached out to producers such as myself to come over to the country, which they paid for us to come over and basically do like a 10-day workshop with co-producers that they thought was at the same level as us in South Africa, and also to meet all the financiers and funders in South Africa so that we can see if there were projects we could do together. I went there and I instantly spoke to quite a few people, and Uzan Nkosi from Ants Media kind of became my favourite. I felt that after a few whiskies, if we can drink together, we can definitely make film together. And that's how that came about. We decided that in terms of his slate and my slate, Stolen would be the first one that would be the most beneficial one for the KZN to have their first official co-production. And
question about that. So the script already existed before you went there, or was it something that was created later?
Okay. So the script was written by Gary Young, who wrote Harry Brown, and the script was done before I went there. And but when I first got the script before we went there, it was actually written for a male lead. And I said to Gary, the company I want to create is about diversity, whether it be female, race, sexuality. I want to make sure that there's representation and where are the gaps in representation. And I felt that black women doing action was a huge gap, especially from the UK, because when we were looking for actors, we couldn't find any.
I mean, women doing action in general is rare. So to put a black female lead in that role is really quite groundbreaking. And I think that leads to another question. I mean, at what point did your director, Mr. Sheridan Demyers, come on board?
Okay. So everybody for years have been telling me and Sheridan, we should work together, you guys are great. And I think it was during COVID that me and Sheridan developed that relationship. Obviously a lot of people weren't shooting. Me and him were still making content. We were just basically isolating everybody in one house and making content. And Gary at that time, he was supposed to direct, because we did his first film, Two Graves, which got sold to Netflix. And this was supposed to be a follow-up. And he kind of came down a bit ill. He's okay now. And he just said, I don't think South Africa's the one for me. You're gonna have to find a new director. And I was like, oh no. Where am I gonna find a British director that I feel that can deliver the level of action thriller that I feel needs to be delivered as the first? And somebody said, go and see Sheridan. So literally, I called Sheridan, he was cool. He was like, yeah, I'll come over to your house, and literally, some things you don't have to force. He came in, we sat down, he lives up the road from me. And we just sat down and started chatting, and it was like, yeah, you're the director.
Great. So Sheridan, what attracted you to this project, and how did you feel about all the international aspects of the story when you first encountered it?
I think the first thing that really attracted me was like Shantelle was saying, there isn't any black female led action thrillers. Actually, there's little to none black films with any kind of black females leading the actual script. So that was one thing that really sort of sparked out, and I was actually sort of thinking about doing something with a black female lead, more of a faith-based project. But when Shantelle sort of came to me, I was like, oh my god, I was actually thinking about this, like in like retrospect. And it's kind of like what's happening right now is like, and what's really working is like multi-territorial content, not on actually like from the business aspect for it, but from an audience perspective. And for me, it's always about audience perspective. Like everything that I make is kind of more about sort of what would I watch and what would the audience kind of watch. And I think people sort of really resonate with something like this. Set in South Africa, people don't really know about the city of Durban, or even sort of a lot of films that are from South Africa. But cooperating with like a British like film with South Africa, but also with international cast, is something that's kind of future, especially for like streamers and for like future films that are going to be made.
And can you tell us a little bit about the story without giving away any of the, the salient plot lines? I want to hear the story because it is an international story. Why is it international? Why does that matter? Why is that the map for the rest of the process that we're going to be talking about?
So what was really interesting, so the story is basically about this young mother. She's ex-military. She starts up a security firm. She's looking after this really wealthy individual and protecting him, but she's also raising like this young teenage daughter who wants to go to South Africa to study. She gets caught up in a mishap in South Africa, presumed dead. So the authorities actually contact her mother and say, look, your daughter's dead. She flies over and realizes it's a misidentity. Her daughter's still alive. So she goes on a mission to find her daughter, and I really, really want to tell you the twist. But I think it's going to blow everyone away because we're actually dealing with a lot of kind of interesting themes that affect a lot of individuals worldwide, and they're very serious criminal themes. So I can't tell too much because it will give away the end.
I think you took us right to the edge on that one, so that's good. So let's talk about how this financing model came about. Clare, that is your world. So how was this film structured once you felt like this was going to work and you had to pay for it?
Yeah, so the finance plan obviously is structured with the KZN Film Commission. We also then got the support from the BFI. We've also got several UK investors and investors in the South African side, plus we're utilising the tax credits in the UK and the DTI in South Africa as well. So that's the finance plan that makes up the budget of the film.
And how complicated is that for you? I can't pass this back there. We got to keep this conversation. I hope it doesn't mess you up, but we're not doing that again.
Yeah, it was complicated at first, I suppose, with the investor side of things and actually getting someone or financiers to believe in the project. It's quite unique. Black female lead, thriller, action-packed,
Right.
So yeah, it's something unique, so that was quite hard. Individual investors, it's just how they'll get their money back. And just when we had the support from the BFI and also the KZN, that obviously...
That gives it a certain substance. And I mean, how do you guarantee the money back? And you talk about some of the processes that people are going to buy into?
Yeah, well, we've got a great distributor on board. Once we sign the distributor, we then obviously arrange some pre-sales. That helps. I think what you do struggle with, probably everyone finds in the industry, is maybe some cash flowing some of the elements of the finance plan. But we've managed to succeed and move forward with that.
Are you able to tell us who the distributor is?
Yes, Cape Big Media is a distributor, and they've secured one pre-sale already. For the US territory.
It's fine.
Yeah, I don't know.
I like this. I want the spoilers. I want all the information. Who are they?
Okay, it's going to be a BET Plus original, and and it's actually the first of a franchise. So we're really, really proud of ourselves.
And so this is breaking new ground for them too. I mean, this is an international. They've never done anything like that before. What was it that attracted them to this project in particular?
Well, I think it's I don't know. That's a pretty.
I think it's a new time for film and TV personally, and I think, how many times can you see, no offense to anybody that make Macbeth, but I've seen so many. And I think also our culture audiences are getting smart about what we want to see. We want to see ourselves on the screen, and I think that what attracted them to it is that, one, when you go say UK film independent, we're not talking about studio film and we're not talking about Tanzania here, we're talking about independent film, structured it and raise the finance ourselves. You don't have one like this. And even though UK is one of the emerging markets, so they say, where is the black part of that emerging market? Because you can't call on a rom-com, you can't call on a Boys in the Hood. Where is that whole range of comedy, action thriller? It doesn't exist. So I think BET kind of just looked at it and thought, wow, how do we that? The conversation has kind of been, well, we've been looking for UK action thriller and we can't find it. And I think when we came up and it was like, yes, please, because that deal was done in a matter of weeks. Literally that deal was given and then it was like, yeah, okay, cool, and that deal was signed and given back to us. So it just shows that there's a big gap in the UK market for this.
So the bottom line is that the IP was really powerful and strong, which speaks to your mutual taste, and then the fact that you put your back into that and they got the story. So Dan, what was your role on the project?
Well, my role was when you brought me the project and you need help with the cast, what I do is packaging. I come from an agency background, so I was an APA and worked with some of the biggest talent, and with those relationships on this producing side, it was easy access for me to help package per the needs of the film, based off of value, based off of who the cast wish list was. And the way it really operate is I ask for the cast wish list, I let you know who I have relationships with, and start making the phone calls for the people that I know have value. And BET Plus gave us a name, and we made sure we got them, and we made the dates work, and it was exciting.
Well, and you make that sound so easy. I mean, everybody just knows lots and lots and lots of actors and just signs them. I mean, that takes years of relationship building and trust building, because people aren't just going to give you their talent because you're so charming on the phone. They need to know that it's backed by a lot of different things. So you were able to convey the structure that we're talking about and all the work that they've done and what it was landing on, and then a very reputable distributor and output. So this is great. So let me talk to you again, Claire, about some of the challenges of stitching together all those multiple entities. What is it like juggling those things, and what advice do you have for people who are trying to do that?
I think it's very cast driven. I think that's how you get the investment into individual private investors. Definitely go on cast. To be honest, the BFI, just having their name attached to the KZN Film Commission, that's very, very important. When you have the distributor as well, I think that really helps, because that helps with sales agents, so it's the sales estimates. So I think that's how it is structured.
She's being very modest here, because she didn't go down like that. That's not how I remember it.
It was hard.
I can remember certain phone calls.
She's being modest. It's her first time on the panel. Listen, it was not like that. We had the structure all in place just before COVID. 2 weeks before COVID, they grounded all the planes in the UK. I was still hoping that I'd get on the plane and at least be grounded in South Africa, because I could still make a film. But that wasn't to be. So I literally cried in my bed for about 3 days, and I was like, okay girl, you gotta get out now. I was like, we've got to do something about this. And I was like, but I was still woke up and I was like, but this is the challenges for me and the team. We didn't expect to face these challenges, because to be fair, we didn't think that these challenges existed. We thought, I guess the UK a lot is brought up on American content. So we think we've seen that film, and we think we've seen this film and that film, but when you actually see in terms of UK cast and UK, we haven't. It hasn't been done. We didn't realise we were booting off doors. We just thought we were going to get there and someone was just going to open it for us, which is so not the case. So then basically after coming out of my bed, we lost, then being grounded, 6 months later we lost half of our finance. One of our investors lost his money on stocks as that started to plummet. So I stopped crying by that point, because boy, I was in deep anyway. I was like, okay, so what we're gonna do, let's focus. So what we did is we focused on other productions. We've done the Black British Theatre Awards for Sky Arts with Kwame Kwame, the Young Vic. And then we done other smaller projects, and then I was like, no, you know what, late 2020, I said, no, we've got to get this together. we can't just be outed like that. You know, we've faced more worse stuff. So I was like, okay, let's get it back together. A week later, the other financier lost his money. I only had 10 credit by that point. I was like, come on, God, help me out here. So I was like, okay, cool. No, we got this. Then Gary called me and said, you know what, I don't think I'm going to be able to direct. I was like, okay, so I got a script now, because I'm back to the beginning now. And sometimes, you know what, sometimes going back to the beginning, it just goes away of showing you, you know what, you're going to get it better and bigger and better the next time. And that's exactly what it is now. You know, literally, we had Sheridan come straight, you know, to my door. Then we had a director who was great, who understand the vision, could see what and bring a totally different view on it. Then literally I was on Steve's phone going, Steve, help me out.
And that's why I said, Dad, take this call.
Help me out and listen.
Jump in.
Well, you know, the kind of thing is, you know, I'm sure some of you filmmakers go for it, and sometimes it's good to talk about panels so people feel comfortable that you're not the only one. You know, me, Dan, Claire, all of us, Steve has been on the phone. You know, we're UK, so you can imagine UK time wakes up before US. US doesn't wake
A little
up
bit.
to 2 in the afternoon. That's there like 9 o'clock. You know, so we've nearly finished our day. We get jumping on the phone at like midday. That's like go home time for us. We're on the phone till 12 midnight, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm still getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning. You know, it wasn't just an easy journey, but it just makes it all the more sweeter when you get to this position.
Yeah, no, you bring up some fascinating things about. I'm just going to leave that there. You bring up some fascinating things about what happens on projects. And these things happen so frequently, where money's lost, directors fall out. We have all sorts of variables, and you talk about the hand of God too. It's important to sometimes realize that you're actually being prepared for something. By losing, you're actually becoming stronger. You're actually more determined to fulfill your vision. You're actually more prepared than you were in 2020 to make this damn film. And you've thought about it, you've drilled into more details, your business got tighter, we know that. The business, you know, the determination to stitch those things together got even more sharp. So, I mean, you know, you said it was easy to call these. What have been some of the challenges, Dan, please?
I'll elaborate.
Don't sell a dream to anybody here.
Yes, it is very, very hard. It is, so I was a talent agent for 12 years, built a ton of relationships with managers and other agencies, and covering some of the biggest projects as well as talent. And the way I always operate is when Shantelle gave me the script, I immediately knew, okay, I have this person, and this person I can go to package. Because again, with the value in the international marketplace and having that knowledge from talking to distributors and sales agents and just building up all of that knowledge, it allowed me to kind of have a really good grasp on the international market and what people could bring and what their value is too, so you don't technically have to overpay for talent because your budget can skyrocket if that happens, because that's where a distributor will look at your package, your budget, and if you're overpaying for an actor in the value of the international space or domestic for the US, they can say, we're not going to touch this because you won't recoup. And so you really have to walk a fine line there. And it was funny because, not funny, but on top of that, you lost your lead actress.
Oh yeah, we did.
You did.
Oh my God.
So that's all.
She comes to me, so we lost our lead actress. Like, it was all set, cast, everything. We lost our lead.
This was like 3 months ago. No. Listen, don't put me through the ringer on this one. It's going to be great, clearly. Yeah, so we got to the beginning of the year now. We're all ready to go. Alta's packaged it. I do have to give a big shout out to Carla Hilbrick, who introduced us to our distributor. Been fighting the battle for us back there. Big media, they've been fantastic, and literally I've told everybody we're ready to go. Let's go. We're shooting. It's, you know, this was like February, so we're planning on shooting in March. I get a call early March. So your talent, which I won't say who it was, so she's been taken by ITV. They're paying 4 times as much, and yeah, you can't have her. I was like, what? But she really just worked for them. I thought she weren't going back for the series. Well, she was so great they want her back. Sorry, and it's shooting all over summer. You won't be able to get her until 2023. I was like, come on, God, help me out here. I was like, okay, cool. But after all of the stuff I told you, I was much stronger by that point, as Steve says. I was like, all right, cool. Who are we going to get? Now, the problem we had in the beginning is finding a UK lead that wasn't like Tandy doing A-list that we couldn't afford. And also keeping the lead UK. Because it was like, well, you know what, you're just going to have to go and get American lead. That's just going to have to be the fullback. You know, you're going to have to pay scheduled F or something like that and do that. And I was like, no, we need a UK. It's a UK and South African.
Slow down, use the term Schedule F, elaborate.
Oh, sorry, Schedule F is like a certain
65.
amount of pay, 65 like K, that's like a just set standard pay for an actor. You don't always get it for every actor.
Screen Actors Guild.
But it's Screen
Yes.
Actors Guild, as Steve said, in America. It was like, where are we going to find? We struggled the first time, and it was really like a year going back and forth. Who we can't afford them? They're available. Speaking to the agent, we're not going below this. You know, you can't have them until 2026. You know, like it was all of that, and then we got to that stage, and it was like, okay, who? And literally, I was on Steve saying, Steve, Dan. I think literally, I swear Dan's wife must know all of us because we've been talking to us 7 o'clock in the morning. Literally, that's what it takes to get it done, you know. But it's a thing of like, we all were so passionate about it. We can see the vision for it, and we can see sometimes the effort that has to go into being the first.
Sheridan, what are the challenges as a director to go through these kinds of processes? I mean, there are different sets of responsibilities up here. What do you need to do to make these things move forward?
Yeah, I think everyone's sort of mentioned thing about scheduling, because as a director you get booked up on other things, so you're always constantly juggling your own schedule with either, because I'm a writer director, so it's easier if you're writing, but you still have to deliver certain things to either like a TV station or a distributor or etc. etc. But while you're directing, so I direct a few sort of TV shows and also my own personal projects, plus I'm directing commercials and music videos. So it's kind of like thinking in your head, okay, can I take that job, can I take that job, can I take that job, and fitting in that schedule. But at the same time, it's sort of also fitting into that vision, because in your head you're thinking, okay, we've landed the actor or the actress, and you're thinking like, okay, this is what I'm going to do with her, this is how I'm going to light her, this is how I'm going to make a move. Oh, I think she can actually portray in this way, in that way. So like on a creative aspect, you're sort of thinking intricacies. Can she deliver those elements within the script? Because every actress is actually different and they will bring something different to the table. So you always have to have that in the back of your mind as a creative, thinking like, okay, will she fit into your vision? Because I think sometimes as a director you get, okay, yeah, she's perfect, I'm going to really do that with her. But when that changes, it can spin you out a little bit. But, you know, I think that's the name of the game, and sort of like coming over those obstacles are like really important as well.
And I actually wanted to ask you another question. I could have done it without the mic. But I'll keep it here since I've got it now. How do you strategize to cross cultures? And do you have to make a different approach with people from different cultures? How does that work for you as a director?
I think I find it quite easy sort of maneuvering through cultures. It's just because basically where we grew up, it's like very multicultural. I think where I grew up in Peckham, it's called Little Africa anyway, because it's got like literally every African nation within one high street. No, it's true. It's known that like if you want something for your hair, if you want something for like, you know, your skin tone, you go to Peckham, my area. It's called Little Africa. Like it's the way. So I think in terms of like that aspect, London is like, I feel like the probably most multicultural place in the world, like where we grew up in South London. So I think like growing up and having that authenticity and sort of growing up with like every single sort of person from around the world, it's really helped me sort of develop and engage, not just as a director but as a human being, and tell those authentic stories.
Great. Actually, I want to pass it here. Let me. I'm going to do this. This is.
Yeah.
Claire, what do you wish every finance person knew about international co-productions? And what advice would you give them?
I suppose where to go for that finance. I think that's very important. I think it's just partnered up with the right people, people who actually believe in the project that you're doing, and can see what we see as the final film, basically.
And how do you go about like for a neophyte producer who wants to master, I'd like a Rolodex full of finance people. Where would I start?
Where would you start? Sorry.
If I were, let's say I'm a young producer who's starting off in the world, and I want to make my signature that I know where to find money, but I don't know where to find money. How do I start doing that? And with any kind of credibility?
Just connections, I think. I mean, you've got, just partnerships, investors, I think, individual investors, that's what I was originally used to. Some general people just investing into the film, they might love the film, so they've got the insight to actually invest into that. That's got harder, so I think it's better now to go to the finance companies themselves, reach out to people like you, yourself, Alta. We've also, like Shantelle sort of said, we've got a great agency, ex-agents that work for us that actually on our behalf go out and seek finance. So I think it's just learning, go to the finance forums at places like Cannes, and just learning about that.
Great.
One thing I forgot, LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn. Big shout out to LinkedIn. Definitely, because through the COVID period, obviously we couldn't do anything, so a lot of adding lots of connections on LinkedIn, that's quite valued. I think that's how we connected, and I spoke to yourself and Theo, and just really getting your slate out there, or the project out there, whatever you're working on, and just see if we can resonate with people. But yeah, LinkedIn.
That as well. I think, I double up what Claire said, markets are important. I think sometimes there's a rush to go and I need to finance my film, I need to finance my film. And then you finance with people that you're just about to get into a marriage with and you don't like. I think we see sometimes financiers as the money, but we forget that they're human beings who have their own interests, who have their own things that they want to do. And I find the best relationships with financiers are the ones that you resonate together, because then it becomes a collaboration of making something important. Rather than having somebody that just, even sometimes you meet financiers just want to chuck money at you, but then that's going to become a problem later on because they don't understand what you're trying to do in the future for that film. So I would say definitely go to the markets. LinkedIn is definitely a big space because it's more for the business aspect of all types of businesses, because finances are not just going to come from film, they're going to come from science, they're going to come from property, they're going to be all different types of that. And what I would say as well is you can find financiers, companies expect big percentages taken away from you, but also do a lot of pitching. A lot of people have got finance or money for scripts, money for development. You guys do like Holly Shorts. And also look at your funds in your local respective countries. We were lucky to be looked after by the UK Global Screen Fund. Shout out to them. Neil, Annabelle, everybody on the team, Christine, because not only did they support the film and give us grant financing, which is soft money, which means we don't have to give it back, which then helps to lower the amount of money you need to raise from investors. But also they also helped us, supported us, and have been champions talking about us when we're not even there. And so I would say go to all those elements, and also think about the subject of your film, because some films are funded by the charities of that subject. Really do delve into the actual project you're actually making, because you'll really find pockets of people depending on what your subject matter is, depending on what country you're shooting in, what area you're shooting in. So these are things I would say to think about and analyze your own project first, and you'll find that you come up with little things that you go, I never thought about that. That's, I think, a good way to kind of break it down and getting the right investor.
Great. And I think we have time for one last comment. So when you talk about, I love the fact that you're threading this all through about passion, vision, purpose, because none of that changes if you're really an artist. And I think at the end of the day, there's an artist inside of everyone that's up here, even if they're looking at figures and facts or international treaties or tax rebates. You're still doing it because you want to see that picture happen. So how do you convey that passion, Dan, when you're talking to another agent or manager of someone to get them excited enough to talk to their client about the project that we have?
For me, how I always convey the passion, one, I read the project, I know what it is. What we take on our slate, we are very passionate about. We get pitched a lot, and we only really take something that we full-heartedly want to do. And when you sent Stolen, it was an amazing script. And I was like, we have to do this, Steven. And then that's why we jumped in and immediately started helping out everything you need. Even in the early morning, I'm on the East Coast in America, so all hours. So pitching it to different agencies and their clients and expressing that passion of the project, showing them what this is about, the underlying themes, and why it would be great for their client, and what the production's going to be doing. And so all these different elements, depending who the client is, I adjust to who it is, because everyone's different and unique. And just having those relationships and understanding the talent and what they want to do, or if they haven't done it before, for example. Sorry. Yeah, if they've never done the role before, it's something that you could possibly get a bigger actress or actor to do. And I did that in other films, and this one, when the actors fell out, a couple months ago, we replaced her pretty fast.
Yeah.
So 4 weeks with negotiations. So yeah,
Plenty.
That was
And late nights.
yeah, and late nights, and so it didn't delay too much farther, but it was good.
And I just wanted to also say who the cast were.
Yes,
Please.
So we did cast our main character Celine as Christine Adams. We also have Bromwell, our villain. He's not a villain in real life, he's really a nice guy. His name is Luca Peros. And we also cast, I'll let you guys say the rest.
Yeah.
Alba Ramadani. I'm blanking.
Yeah.
And, and Mr.
Jimmy Jean-Louis.
and Naxolo Damini from Jiva.
Yeah.
And so we're
Netflix.
excited about this really, really diverse cast. It's a pretty amazing thing. And of course, I'm going to end this now because we're just about to start rolling the cameras on this film soon. There'll be another conversation about the other challenges of shooting the film in multiple countries. But until then, we're going to say thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.